The wood creaked under someone's weight. Elias didn't hear a car, didn't hear boots on gravel, just the sound of boards settling, like the house groaned awake. He got up slowly, laid his newspaper down, reached for the shotgun he hadn't touched in years. The porch light flickered when he opened the door. A boy, no, a man, but young, sat on the edge of the porch swing, a baby cradled in his lap, wrapped in a brown blanket, eyes open, not crying. "You're on the wrong land." The stranger looked up, calm, pale eyes, dirt on his boots. "No, sir," he said. "I'm right where she told me to come." Elias shifted the barrel lower, just past the stranger's knee. "Who told you?" The boy tapped the baby's chest. "My mama." Elias narrowed his eyes. "Your mama got a name." "She had one." The boy looked down at the baby. "She said you'd know it." "You got 5 seconds." "She said you're the reason I was born." Elias didn't move. His fingers curled tighter around the grip. "What's that mean?" "She never told me that part." "You think this is funny? You drag a baby out here, sit on my swing, talk riddles." "No riddles," the boy said. "Just a porch, just a baby." Elias stepped out, letting the screen door slam. His boots stopped at the top step. "You, her son?" "That's what she said." "What was her name?" The boy didn't answer. Elias's voice cracked dry. "Say it." "Annie." Silence like dust in the throat. Elias lowered the shotgun but didn't let it go. "She's dead." The boy nodded once. "When?" "A month ago." Elias stared at the baby. "That's yours." The boy didn't blink. "Yes." "You sure?" "She bled out holding him. I caught him before he hit the floor." The screen door fluttered in the breeze. The swing creaked once. Elias looked away, into the dark. "She left town. That's all I knew." "She didn't leave." His voice turned hard. "She was pushed." Elias turned back slowly. "Are you accusing me of something?" The boy stood, baby tight to his chest. "She said she came here once, a long time ago. Said you stood in the doorway and didn't say a word." "I don't remember that." She remembered every second. Elias stepped closer. "What's your name?" "Jonah." "Who gave you that?" "She did. Said it came from a man who lived inside a beast, made it out at the other side." Elias let out a short breath. "She always liked stories." Jonah shifted the baby higher on his shoulder. "She didn't like what happened here." "Then why send you?" "She said someday I'd need to look you in the eye, and you'd need to see him." Elias's voice dropped. "What do you want?" "Nothing." "You want money?" "I want nothing." "You want answers?" "I already got 'em." Elias turned away, looked out over the field. "She told me to stay away." "She told me you stayed." He didn't reply. Jonah stepped forward. "She never stopped waiting, just stopped talking." Elias swallowed hard. "And she said, 'I'm the reason you're here.' She said if things had gone differently, I might have had a last name that meant something." Elias turned back, eyes sharp. "You came out here for what? Closure?" "No." Jonah looked down at the baby. "I came because she said I'd feel better after." "Do you?" "No." The baby made a soft noise, a breath that wasn't quite a cry. Elias stared. Jonah adjusted the blanket. "He doesn't sleep unless there's crickets." Elias looked past him toward the barn. "Used to be full of them. Now it's just mice." "You live alone?" "I live quietly." Jonah stared. "She said you were mean. Not cruel, just mean." "She wasn't wrong. She also said you never hit her, just made her feel like the walls would." Elias didn't flinch. "She said you loved her once. Then you folded it up like a letter and never opened it again." The baby hiccuped. Elias leaned against the post. "You think you can come here? Say all that. Drop a baby on my porch." "I ain't dropping nothing." Elias studied the boy. "You look like her. Around the eyes." "That's the part she hated." "Did she ever say why she left?" Jonah nodded. "She tried to tell you. Said you shut the door before she finished." Elias looked down at the floorboards. "She came in the rain." "That's what she said." "She was shaking. She was scared. I thought she wanted money. She wanted help. I had nothing. You had her." Elias stepped off the porch. I walked to the edge of the dirt, stopped. The moon was barely there. Jonah waited. The baby shifted, let out a small cry. Elias didn't turn around. "Where are you staying?" "No place." "You on foot?" "Mostly." "You fed him?" "Not since this morning." Elias wiped a hand over his face. "Are you hungry?" Jonah shrugged. Doesn't matter. You got milk? Ran out yesterday. Elias looked back at him. Come in. Jonah hesitated. Why? You think I'm the reason you were born, Elias said. Then you're my mess to clean. Jonah followed him in, slow. The baby's head rested on his shoulder, eyes wide in the dark. Inside, the kitchen was cold. The clock on the wall ticked louder than it should. Elias opened the fridge, pulled out a half-empty bottle. Cow milk, he said. Not good for babies. I know. But it's what I got. Jonah nodded. She said you'd be like this. Like what? Like a wall that used to be a man. Elias poured the milk into a pot. Turn the stove knob. She said your silence could kill a field. Elias stirred slowly. She always liked things that grew. Yeah. She buried anything she didn't. Jonah held the baby tighter. Guess that's why she kept me. Elias looked at him. The baby made a small noise. A tiny laugh. A hiccup wrapped in joy. Elias blinked. Jonah whispered, he doesn't cry for no reason. He listens. To what? Whatever we don't say. Elias poured the warm milk into a chipped bottle, set it on the table. Let's feed him, he said. Jonah sat down. The baby reached toward the warmth. Elias watched him. I watched the way his hands didn't shake. I watched the way the baby stared straight through him. Watched like the past hadn't gone anywhere, just circled back, carried in the arms of a boy he didn't raise, a baby he didn't ask for, and a name he never said out loud. The bottle sat empty on the table. The baby's eyes fluttered, not asleep, just watching. Jonah rocked the chair with his foot. Elias stood by the sink, arms crossed, jaw tight. She told me you used to fix clocks. Elias didn't look at him. Is that so? Said your hands were steady, could line up broken gears like puzzle pieces. I don't fix anything anymore. She said you used to hum when you worked. I don't hum either. Jonah let the chair stop. She said your name like it was a wound. Elias turned slowly. She left. That's all. Jonah met his eyes. Number she said, you made her leave. Elias didn't move. She said she came to tell you. You didn't want to hear it. You know what people say when they're hurt? Yeah, but this didn't sound like it hurt. It sounded like the truth. Elias stepped forward. She came to you drunk. She was clean when I was born. You sure she remembered right? I'm sure you do. The baby stirred. A small cry rose, cut short by Jonah's hand resting gently on his chest. She said you were good once. I was never good. Maybe not, but you were kind. For a while. Elias sat down across from him. You know what kindness got me? I think I do. Nothing. Not a damn thing. She never asked for much. She asked me to ruin my name. She asked you to see her. Elias gritted his teeth. I saw her. Not when it counted. She wanted me to go up against a family that owned half the county. She wanted you to be brave. I wasn't. Jonah nodded. She knew that. Elias's voice softened. Then why come back? She said I'd ask that. The baby let out another cry, sharper now. Elias flinched. He doesn't like yelling, Jonah said. That wasn't yelling. Feels like it to him. Elias looked at the baby. What's his name? Hiram. Elias blinked. Why that? Family name. Whose? Yours, maybe. Elias looked down. She said you had a grandfather who wore that. Name like a crown. Elias swallowed. He didn't deserve it. She said he used to sit in that same chair and polish his boots every Sunday. He shot dogs for fun. She said you never forgave him. There was nothing to forgive. He was just like the rest. Jonah rocked the baby again. She said you told her you'd break the line. I did. But you didn't. Elias looked at him. You think I'm the villain here? No. Then what am I? You're the reason she stopped writing letters. Elias stood again, pacing now. Do you ever lose a job because of who you stood beside? Not yet. Do you ever get followed into a store? No. Have you ever had your father stop speaking to you? I never had one. Elias stopped moving. The room stilled. She said you got scared, that's all. I was 23. She was barely 20. She was pregnant. I didn't know. She said you did. Elias stared at the door. Jonah lowered his voice. She waited on that porch for an hour. You didn't open. I didn't know she was here. She said you looked at her once through the blinds. Elias didn't answer. She saw you. The baby cried again, louder. Jonah picked him up, stood, walked him in circles. She didn't want you to raise him, Jonah said. She just wanted you to know. Elias watched them. She should have told someone else. She didn't trust anyone else. Then she was a fool. She just loved wrong. Elias sat down again, slower this time. She said your mama warned her. She did. Said she wasn't fit. She said a lot of things she shouldn't have. Did you believe her? I wanted to. But did you? Elias didn't speak. Jonah stopped walking. She bled too long after he was born. I held her hand. She didn't squeeze back. Elias looked at the baby. And now you're here. She said you'd deny it. I'm not denying anything. You said she left. She did. Jonah's jaw tightened. You made her. Elias's voice was low. I was young. I was scared. And she showed up with news that would have torn this town sideways. So you shut the door. I wasn't the only one. She said everyone left her but you. Elias's eyes burned. Then I guess I left her too. The baby cried harder now, wailed sharp, needing something deeper than milk. Jonah tried shushing, rocking, holding tighter. Elias stood, reached for the bottle. Let me. Jonah hesitated. I won't drop him. Jonah passed the baby over, slowly, carefully. Elias held the small body close, sat down. The baby's cries slowed, not gone, just softened. He feels heavy, Elias said. He's not. But it feels that way. He's been carried by ghosts. Elias looked at Jonah. So have I. Jonah nodded. So did she. Elias shifted the baby in his arms. Did she hate me? She pitied you. The baby closed his eyes. Breathing steadied. Jonah watched. Elias whispered, I wanted to be different. She believed you would be. She was wrong. She forgave you anyway. Elias stared at the baby. He doesn't look like me. He doesn't look like me either. Elias nodded. Jonah sat down. She used to sing to me. Said you played guitar once. I burned it. Why? Didn't want to remember the songs. She remembered them all. The baby let out one final soft sound, then went quiet. Elias whispered, Old names carry weight. She gave him yours for a reason. I don't deserve it. She thought you might earn it. Elias didn't speak. The house creaked again. The wind shifted. The night deepened. Elias looked at Jonah. Are you staying? For now. I got a cot in the back room. I've slept on worse. Elias stood with the baby, walking slowly toward the hallway. He can sleep in my room. Jonah followed, eyes steady. Elias paused. You really believe I'm the reason she died? No. But you're the reason she kept living. Elias opened the door. They both stepped inside. The baby stirred just after sunrise, a soft, breathy whimper, not quite a cry. Elias was already awake. I hadn't slept, just stared at the ceiling fan turning above the bed, slow and steady like it might stop any second. He picked up the baby before Jonah could get out of the chair in the corner. I got him, Elias said. Jonah didn't argue, just watched. Elias rocked the baby in the crook of his arm. He dreams loud. He always does, Jonah said. She used to say he talked to the dark. Elias raised an eyebrow. What did that mean? She said the dark knew more than people did. Elias stepped into the hallway toward the kitchen. Jonah followed. I kept thinking about something last night, Jonah said. Yeah? She said the governor wore his badge in your house. Elias stopped walking. Jonah's voice was steady. Said he came around regularly before she disappeared. Elias didn't turn. He wasn't the governor back then, but he had the badge. Sheriff's badge. Still holding power. Elias turned, slow. What did she say about him? She said he smiled too much, like he already knew who was going to die next. Elias set the baby down in the crib by the window. That man built this town with his father's bones. Jonah sat at the table. She said he came to your house 3 times. Last time, she stopped speaking for a week. Elias poured water into the kettle. She shouldn't have told you that. She told me everything. She had no right. She had no one else. Elias lit the stove. He wanted her quiet. He got what he wanted. He didn't ask. He just made things happen. Jonah leaned forward. Why'd he want her gone? She saw him. Doing what? Elias looked away. Doesn't matter now. It matters to me. Elias didn't answer. Jonah stood. You were friends? No. Then why was he in your house? Elias turned. Because I was weak. And he liked that. Jonah's eyes narrowed. She said he never laid a hand on her. Just stood close enough she stopped breathing right. Elias nodded. He didn't have to touch anyone. He just pointed. The kettle hissed. He threatened you? No, Elias said. He offered me a future. What kind? One where people didn't spit at my boots, where I could walk into the courthouse without waiting outside. You took it. I let him talk. And she left. She begged me not to let him in. Jonah moved toward the crib. Is he still in power? He got older, meaner, but still wears the badge. Number gave it to his son. Keep the office. Jonah scoffed. That ain't giving it up. No. She said your house used to have pictures of his father. Is that true? They're gone now. She said the walls had ears. Elias glanced at the baby. They still do. Jonah looked hard at him. Have you ever seen him hurt someone? Not with his hands, but with yours. Elias turned back to the stove. She was scared of him, but she hated me more. She didn't hate you. She pitied me. Jonah lifted the baby. You think he knows about Hiram? I doubt it. You sure? No. Jonah sat back down. What if he finds out? Then he'll want him gone. Why? Because blood ties don't mean loyalty. They mean threat. Jonah rocked the baby slowly. Do you ever think he's the father? Elias's body went still. She never said. Elias nodded. Then maybe we won't ask. She said it could be either of you. Doesn't matter. Does to me. Elias sat across from him. Does she ever say what happened in that room? She said she knocked. You didn't answer. Not that night. The night he came. Jonah shook his head. She never told me. Elias leaned back. He wanted her to disappear, but he wanted it quiet. Did you help? I shut the door. That was enough. Jonah lowered his voice. Does he still come around here? Not since the funeral. Whose? My mother's. Jonah nodded. She was the one who hated Annie. She hated anything that made me look different from the family photo. Is she still in the ground up back? By the sycamore. She got a marker? Number just a rock. The baby stirred again. Elias stared. You hear her sometimes? Jonah asked. Elias didn't speak. I do, Jonah said. In his voice, when he cries, it's her, like she's trying to come back. Elias looked out the window. This house holds the sound too long. Sometimes I hear her walking. She said she'd haunt you. I think she does. The kettle began to scream. Elias stood to take it off the flame. Does she say anything else about the governor? He asked. Jonah nodded. She said the only difference between him and the devil was that the devil didn't run for office. Elias smiled for the first time. Jonah stood again. He's gonna come looking. If he hears a whisper, he'll bring men. I can shoot. They'll shoot first. Then we bury them deep. Elias looked up. That baby's got her fight. He's got your eyes. Elias nodded slowly. Jonah stepped toward the door. You still got your shotgun. Always. Jonah opened the screen door. Then maybe it's time we use it for something right. Elias didn't argue. He just followed him out. The knock came after midnight. Heavy. Intentional. Not the wind. Not lost. Elias reached for the shotgun. Jonah was already standing in the hall, barefoot, baby against his chest. Are you expecting someone? Jonah asked. No one knocks this late unless they want something. Or someone. Elias cocked the hammer. Jonah whispered, You answer for me? Me. Elias opened the door slowly. Porch light flickered once, then held. Two men stood at the edge of the steps. Black coats, wide hats. Not from town. You, Elias? The taller one asked. Elias didn't answer. We heard a boy came this way, carrying a child. Said he might be staying here. Elias said, You heard wrong. Have you seen anyone pass through? Just rabbits. The second man stepped up a stair. We're not looking for trouble. Then back off my porch. Jonah moved into the doorway behind Elias. The man's eyes dropped to the baby. That him? Jonah stepped forward. What do you want? We were sent to bring the child back. Back where? Where he belongs. He belongs here. Not according to the governor. Elias spoke low. That man doesn't own blood. The taller one said, He owns what stains his name. Jonah tightened his grip. This baby ain't for trade. The man raised a brow. You, his father. I am now. That's not what the paperwork says. I don't care what it says. Elias lifted the shotgun slightly. You boys need a map back home? The second one smiled. Are you threatening us? I'm warning you. Don't be stupid, old man. I've been stupid. Now I'm just tired. Jonah stepped onto the porch. You think she didn't see this coming? The man's smile faded. She had a habit of running her mouth. And you had a habit of silencing people. The second one shifted. She signed things, made choices. She didn't choose to die. The taller one said, We're not here to argue. We just want the child. Jonah said, No. Elias said, That baby isn't yours. The man snapped. He's not yours either. Jonah stepped in front of the baby. Doesn't matter. He stays. Elias raised the shotgun higher. Last chance. Silence. Crickets went quiet. Then the taller one spoke. This ain't over. Elias said, You'll wish it was. They backed down the steps. Slow. Deliberate. Got in the truck. Doors slammed. The engine coughed to life. Headlights didn't come on until they hit the main road. Elias stood still for a moment, then closed the door. Jonah paced the living room. Baby quiet again. They'll come back, Jonah said. I know. With more. I know. Jonah turned. They knew her. You saw that? Elias nodded. They called her a mouth. She was. Good. Elias leaned the shotgun against the wall. They'll try again, but not tonight. Jonah whispered. She said if anything happened, I'd know where to go. Does she mean here? She meant where the silence started. Elias sat down slowly. You still think he might be the governor's? Jonah stared at the crib. I think that's why they want him. To bury it. To claim it. Or erase it. Elias rubbed his temples. The governor had men like that when he was sheriff. Did he whisper for him? Jonah sat across. Does she ever say it out loud? That he... But I saw how she shook after he visited. She never cried in front of me. Not once. She cried in this house. Jonah lowered his voice. She told me she hated that porch. She loved it once. Before or after him? Elias didn't answer. Jonah stood again. Have you ever fought for her? Elias looked up. Not when it mattered. Jonah pointed toward the dark. Then this is your time. Elias nodded. I know. The baby stirred. Elias watched him, eyes softening. Jonah whispered, You hear her? Sometimes. In his breath? In the quiet after. Jonah sat down again. He looks like no one, just himself. That's how she was born too. You believe in curses? I believe in patterns. Jonah nodded. Then let's break one. Elias stood. I walked to the back window, watched the trees. They'll wait till fog or fire, Elias said. That's how he works. Then we don't wait. You want to move him? I want to call him out. Elias turned. That's war. It already is. The house creaked under their weight. Elias said, We'll need supplies. Jonah smiled. I got nothing but time and hate. Elias looked at him. Has he ever touched you? Jonah shook his head. He never got the chance. Elias nodded. He might try now. Let him. Elias moved to the door, locked it. Jonah checked the windows. The night pressed close. They stood in silence. The baby breathed easy. Outside, the wind picked up slow and sharp. Inside, they were ready. The smell came first. Charred hay, burning paint, dry wood catching like paper. Then the glow, orange leaking through the kitchen window, flickering against the baby's crib. Jonah stood up fast. Is that... Elias didn't answer. He was already at the door, shotgun in hand. They stepped onto the porch. The barn was lit like a funeral pyre. Flames licked up the side beams, roof collapsing inward. Jonah's voice was tight. How fast can it spread? Fast enough, Elias said. Crackling split the silence, sharp as bone. Sparks flew toward the dry fields. Smoke rose thick and fast, swallowing the stars. Elias moved toward the yard. Grab the bucket. Pump still works. Jonah didn't move. You think this is a warning? No, Elias said. This is a leash. Jonah picked up the bucket and ran toward the pump. Elias grabbed the hose and dragged it toward the fence, but it sputtered dry. Lines cut, Elias shouted. Of course it is, Jonah muttered, pumping water by hand. They tossed what they could. It wasn't much, Flames had already taken the east wall. Jonah said, "It's not gonna hold." Elias didn't stop. "It doesn't need to hold. Just slow down." Another crash. Roof beams fell inward, dragging heat with them. Jonah stepped back. "That barn was yours." "I built it with my father." "Then let it burn." Elias stopped. I turned to him. Jonah spoke quietly. "They want you to fight for something they can destroy." Elias dropped the bucket. "This barn fed people." Jonah pointed to the fire. "Not anymore." They stood there, sweat on their faces, smoke in their eyes. Elias said, "Your governor built this land on ashes. He'll do the same with us." Jonah nodded. "Then we don't stand on it. We bury it." Crackling grew louder. Wind pushed the flames east, toward the fence, toward the house. "We gotta cut the grass back," Elias said. "Make a line." Jonah ran for the shed, grabbed the rusted hoe. They worked fast, slashing dry weeds, ripping up brush. Fire hissed behind them like it was breathing. The baby cried inside. Jonah shouted, "Go get him!" "I'll hold the line." Elias dropped the rake, ran inside, came out a moment later, baby wrapped tight in a towel, eyes wide. Jonah stepped back. "Smoke's shifting. The wind's helping us." Elias looked at the barn. "Let it go." Flames reached the loft. Roof caved. The fire roared up into the sky, then settled into crackling ruin. They stood there, panting, watching it die. Jonah said, "They wanted you to see it. Burn." "I did." "Feel anything?" "Yeah." "What?" "That I should have burned it first." They went back inside, baby still breathing calm, unaware. Elias laid him on the couch, sat on the floor, back against the wall. Jonah stood at the window. "You think he watched?" "He watches everything. Think he'll come himself." "Number he'll send another man, one cleaner." Polite Jonah turned. "Have you ever talked to him face to face since she left?" "Once." "What did he say?" "He said boys don't grow without sacrifice." Jonah shook his head. "And you believed that?" "I was tired of being poor." Jonah looked at the baby. She wasn't. "She was always braver than me." Jonah sat down. "She told me once. She thought fire remembered." "Remember what?" "Who struck the match?" Elias didn't speak. Jonah whispered, "You think he's mine or yours?" "I don't know." "Does it change anything?" "No." "Good." They sat in silence. Fire is still glowing outside, just smoldering now. Elias spoke first. "Have you ever seen a man beg?" "Yeah." "Did it change you?" "Made me quieter." Elias nodded. "Me too." Jonah said, "Are you ready for what comes next?" "I'm too old to run." "Then we fight." Elias looked at the baby. "He deserves more than this." Jonah stood again. "Then we give him more." Elias nodded. Jonah said, "Tomorrow we will bury the barn." Elias said, "And after that, we raise hell." Elias smiled. "First time all night." The fire outside groaned one last time, then silence. Just wind. Just smoke. Just old names waiting to be spoken again. The smell of smoke still clung to the walls by morning. Ash settled in the windowsill. The barn was black skeleton wood now, just ribs and ruin. Elias stood over the old writing desk. The bottom drawer was jammed. He pulled harder. Jonah rocked the baby near the fireplace. "What are you looking for?" "Proof." "Of what?" "That I wasn't crazy." Jonah didn't look up. "She kept things." "She wrote more than she spoke." "Yeah." "She said silence made people imagine worse." Elias yanked the drawer open. Dust floated out. Inside, folded envelopes, dozens. Yellowed, no stamps. Jonah stepped closer. "You never read those?" "She left them in here, told me not to touch them." "And you listened?" "She was the only one I ever listened to." He picked one. It opened slowly, writing small and sharp. Name at the top, Elias. "You'll never read this, but if you do, I hope the barn's still standing." Jonah watched him. Elias read quieter now. "I don't hate you. I never did. You looked at me like I wasn't made of dirt. That was enough for a while. Then it wasn't. You shut the door. I opened a wound." He folded it back, reached for another. Jonah said, "You okay?" "No." He opened the second. "You said he'd never touch me again, but he came back. Not for me. For control. For silence." Elias stopped. Jonah stepped forward. "Was it him?" Elias nodded once. He heard her. And I did nothing. Jonah took a letter, read to himself, whispered, "She names him." Elias looked up. "She said it plainly," Jonah said. "She said, 'The sheriff comes in the back door. The boy has his eyes.'" Elias gripped the desk. "No initials." "She didn't need them." Elias opened another. "I held your name on my tongue while I bled. It kept me angry. That's how I survived." Jonah read another. "This one says, 'He'll never claim you, but I will.'" Elias turned toward him. "She meant the baby?" Jonah shook his head. "She meant me." They stood there, both holding pieces of her. Jonah's voice lowered. "You still think he belongs here?" "He belongs where she wanted him." "She wanted him far from power." Elias whispered, "Then we failed already." Jonah didn't respond. Elias picked up the rest, laid them on the table. "She wrote through it all," he said. "She wanted someone to see." "I didn't. You still can." Elias sat down. "You believe her?" "I always did. Even when she lied to protect herself. Especially then." Elias tapped one letter. "This one says, 'Don't let him grow up learning silence.'" Jonah nodded. "Then we speak." Elias looked at the baby. "He's got too many fathers and no truth." Jonah said, "He's got one now." Elias looked at him. "You? You walked away." "I didn't know." "She did." Elias picked up the letter again. "He'll never claim you, but I will." Jonah stepped closer. "You're afraid he's mine." Elias shook his head. "Number, I'm afraid he's his." Jonah sat across from him. "She didn't leave you these to guess. She left them to give him back." "To who?" "To the one who stayed." Elias looked down. "She never mailed a single one." "She never needed to." The wind hit the house. Windows rattled. Jonah whispered, "They'll want these." "Then they don't get them." Elias grabbed a box from under the sink. Metal, dented, old lock. He placed the letters inside. Jonah asked, "You trust me with them?" "No." Jonah smirked. "Good." Elias locked the box. "They find this. It's over. Then we bury it." Elias looked at him. "Like she buried the truth," Jonah said, "but deeper." The baby cooed from the blanket, a soft sound, like a name almost spoken. Elias said, "He sounds like her when she is tired." "She was always tired. Still fought. Every day." They stared at the box. Elias said, "That man knew everything. Still let it happen." Jonah said, "That's what power is." Elias shook his head. "Not, anymore." Jonah looked at him. "Are you sure you're ready?" Elias answered, "I should have done it years ago." Jonah lifted the box. "Then let's finish what she started." They left, through the back door. The fire was cold now. Barn, nothing but ash. They walked toward the far edge of the field, toward where the old well used to be. They reached the far field before sunup. Mist hung low. The grass hadn't been cut in years. Old fence posts leaned like drunks. The air was still. Elias pointed. "There." Jonah followed the line of his finger. "That's the well?" "It used to be, before it caved." Jonah stepped through the tall grass, baby strapped against his chest. "Why's it out here?" "My grandfather said the water turned bitter." "Why did nobody ever dig it back up?" "The town forgot about it." "No," Jonah said, "the town chose to." They stood over the broken stones. Weeds split the cracks. The ground beneath was soft. Jonah knelt, set the baby down in the grass. The child reached forward, hand splaying across dirt like it knew. Elias stared at the small hand. "You believe in ghosts?" Jonah didn't answer. Elias looked down. "It was here." Jonah stood. "What was it?" "She came here after I didn't answer." Jonah's eyes narrowed. "She told you that?" "Number, but she always walked this way. Always alone." Jonah whispered, "You left her here." Elias's jaw tensed. "I didn't know." "You didn't ask." "I thought she ran." "She didn't run." "I told myself she had." Jonah kicked aside a clump of dead grass. A flat stone sat half buried. No name, just weight. Elias didn't move. "I never searched." Jonah looked at him. "Say it louder." "I never searched." "You let her disappear." "I let a lot of things happen." Jonah bent low, ran his hand over the stone. "You think she's under here?" "I don't know." "You feel it?" Elias whispered. "Yes." Jonah stood again. "There's more." "Where?" "All around." Elias stepped back. I looked around the clearing. Stones, Dozens, small, uneven, no markings. She wasn't alone, Jonah said. None of them were. Elias's voice dropped. He buried them. Silence buries. No, Elias said. He buried them. Jonah nodded. This land is full of ghosts. They trusted him. He made sure no one else did. Elias's breath caught. I heard her once, after the fire, in the hallway. Jonah didn't blink. She never left. They stood quiet. The baby let out a soft noise, not a cry. A breath. Jonah turned. What do we do with the box? Elias said, leave it here. In the dirt? In the silence. Jonah knelt again, dug with his hands. The dirt was soft, loamy, ready. They lowered the box in. Elias whispered, forgive. Me, Jonah paused. For what? For surviving her. Jonah covered the box, patted the earth flat. She knew you wouldn't come. I should have. You still did. Elias looked at the well. This used to feed people. Now it swallows them. They both listened. Wind moved through the reeds, a sound low and circular like voices half-formed. Jonah said, that sound. I know. Does it speak to you? Number it just listens. Jonah picked up the baby. Then let it hear this. He stepped forward, set the baby on the soft ground. The child reached again. Tiny fingers pressed into the earth, still warm from burial. Elias stared. He knows. Jonah nodded. He's not afraid. Elias knelt. He's never known fear. Not yet. Elias whispered, that'll change. Jonah said, not if we stop it. Elias looked around the field. This place should be marked. No, Jonah said. It should be remembered. They sat together in the grass. Baby between them. The well behind. Elias closed his eyes. You hear her now? Jonah whispered. Yeah. What's she saying? She's waiting. For what? For the truth. They watched the sun rise, and they waited with them. The sheriff's office hadn't changed. Same sagging porch, same peeling green door. The same name is still carved faintly into the beam above it. T. Warren, sheriff. But Warren was long gone. His son wore the badge now. Same shape, same shine. Different kinds of silence behind it. Elias stood on the bottom step, shotgun slung but visible. Jonah beside him, baby on his chest, wrapped in a navy coat. Are you sure you want him here? Elias asked. He has a right. He's a child. He's a witness. Elias looked up. The screen door creaked open. Sheriff Clay Warren stepped out slowly. Younger than his father, but colder. Blonde hair slicked back. Badge glinting in the sun like something alive. Well, Clay said, you boys looking for trouble or just carrying it? Elias didn't move. We came to talk. Clay's eyes landed on the baby. Lots of talk going around about that one. Let's keep it honest, Jonah said. You know who he is? Clay smiled thin. Depends who you ask. I'm asking you. Clay looked at Elias. Is he yours? Elias didn't answer. Jonah said, you think the governor's losing sleep? Clay stepped down one stair. Governor don't sleep. He plans. Then what's this baby doing to his plans? Clay shrugged. Messes up the timeline. Elias stepped forward. Why burn the barn? Didn't see no fire, Clay said. You heard about it. Small towns burn fast. You cut the water line. You got proof. Jonah said, he's got memory. Memory's a slippery thing. Jonah moved up one step. You were there when she bled. Clay didn't blink. A lot of women bleed. You saw her leave town. I saw her stop being useful. She told me your father touched her. Clay smiled. She told a lot of stories. You believe them? I believe she wanted something she couldn't have. Elias stepped forward. And what was that? Clay looked at him hard. A name that didn't curse her. Jonah said, she gave that child the name of 2 men. Clay's smile dropped. That child doesn't belong to either of you. Elias spoke low. Then who does he belong to? Clay looked down at the baby. The system. Jonah scoffed. There is no system. There's power, Clay said. That's all. And the man with the badge chooses who gets to cry and who gets to dig. Elias glanced at the gleam on Clay's chest. That badge doesn't shine like it used to. Clay stepped closer. Still cuts just as deep. Jonah said, you think you're wearing history? I am. You're wearing silence. Clay leaned forward. That baby grows up. He'll never be safe. Elias raised his voice. Are you threatening him? I'm predicting. You think he's a threat? No, Clay said. I think he's a reminder. Of what? At night, your house went quiet and a woman walked into the dark. Jonah gritted his teeth. Say her name. Clay stepped back. Don't go. She's already buried. Elias whispered, Not deep enough. Clay's eyes narrowed. You dig her up? Jonah said. We gave her the last word. Clay looked at them both. You boys know what you're doing. We're telling the truth, Elias said. Clay shook his head. Truth's like a snake. You pick it up wrong, it bites. Better than living under it. The badge caught sunlight again. Elias blinked. The gleam hit his eye sharp, like it looked back. Jonah said, That thing's shining or breathing. Clay touched the badge with 2 fingers. This? It listens. Elias stepped back. Your father wears it that way too. Clay smiled again. He taught me everything. Elias's voice broke slightly. Then you were taught to bury women. Clay's face changed. Careful, old man. Jonah pulled the baby close. He's already dead to you. That's what this is. You think the governor's scared of a letter? We think he's scared of blood that doesn't stay hidden. Clay leaned closer to Elias. Who's the father? Jonah said. Ask the governor. Elias said, Ask yourself. Clay looked at them both. You want war. We want reckoning. Same thing. Jonah said, You planning to shoot us now or just spit? Clay smiled again. You boys ain't worth the bullet. Elias turned to leave. Then you better dig deeper next time. Clay called out, You walk out of here. You don't walk back. Elias paused, looked over his shoulder. That's the plan. Jonah followed him down the steps. Clay didn't move. As they walked, Elias glanced back once. The badge still gleamed, still watching. Not Clay. The metal. Like it was remembered more than the man did. Jonah said, You saw it too. Yeah. It blinked. Yeah. They walked faster. Behind them, the porch groaned like it was carrying a second weight. They climbed the hill in silence. No road led there, just a worn footpath that twisted through brush and dry grass. The baby slept against Jonah's chest. Elias carried nothing but guilt. The sky was low. The sun hadn't bothered to rise all the way. Fog clung to the earth like it wanted to stay. Jonah stopped at the crest. This is it. Elias caught up, breath tight. Where? Jonah pointed. Look close. Scattered across the hilltop were stones. Flat, round, uneven. No names, no dates. Just earth disturbed and left to settle again. Elias whispered, These ain't graves. Jonah nodded. They are. Where are the markers? There were none. Who buried them? Other women. Elias looked down. And nobody said anything. They tried. And? Jonah stared straight ahead. He buried them too. Just not all the way. Elias stepped forward. How many? 17. That I know. He crouched by a moss-covered stone. Touched it like it might speak. She told me about this place, Jonah said. Said she walked here when her legs still worked right. Said the ground pulled. Elias didn't speak. Jonah moved to another stone. This one's Martha Dole. How do you know? She died holding a tin spoon. That's buried beneath. Elias looked at the dirt. Why a spoon? She used it to hit the sheriff when he came through her door. Elias closed his eyes. Jonah pointed again. That one's Nora Bell, drowned in her own well. That one, Etta Crane, burned alive. They said her stove caught on, but it wasn't lit. Elias said, I don't want to hear more. Jonah stood still. That's the problem. I didn't know. You never asked. Elias stepped back. I couldn't have stopped it. You were the only one who could. The wind moved slowly between them. Jonah crouched at another stone. She said you were different. I tried to be. You weren't. I know. Jonah looked at him. Are you still wearing it? Elias blinked. What? The guilt. Yeah. Good. Elias knelt beside a flat grave. His hand hovered over it, never touching. She's here. Jonah shook his head. No. Why bring me? To show you she wasn't alone. Elias nodded. Jonah whispered, Every stone here has a child walking without a father. Elias looked up at him. Jonah stepped closer. Some of those children don't even know they came from this hill. Elias said, They should. They will. How? Jonah looked down at the baby. We start speaking. Elias rubbed the back of his neck. Does this place feel cold to you? Jonah nodded. Like it remembers. Do they ever try to dig them up? Number people only dig when there's profit. The baby stirred. Elias reached out instinctively. Jonah let him. Elias held him close. The baby opened his eyes, blinked. He doesn't know what he's standing on. Jonah said, he doesn't have to. Not yet. Elias sat on the grass. You think we're doing the right thing? No. Then why keep going? Because it's the only thing left. Elias rocked the baby slowly. They'll come for him. I know. They'll come for us. I know. You ready? Jonah said, no. They stayed on the hill as the fog lifted. The stones didn't move. The wind stopped pretending to forget. And Elias listened for names he never bothered to learn. The truck rolled up slowly just past dusk. Headlights off, tires whispering across the dirt. 2 men inside, 1 in the back. Third was driving. Elias watched from the porch. Jonah stood in the doorway, baby asleep in the crook of his arm. They're here, Elias said. Jonah nodded. How many? 3. Jonah adjusted the baby's blanket. Guns? Always. The truck stopped 20 feet from the porch. Doors opened. Boots hit gravel. No one spoke. Elias stepped down. Evening. The tallest one stepped forward. The governor wants the child. Elias said, he ain't for sale. The second man flanked left. We ain't here to buy. Jonah stayed behind the screen. Then you're trespassing. The man closest grinned. We're collecting. Elias looked at him. You burned the barn too. Didn't need to. You lit that yourself the day you let her leave. Elias's grip tightened. You got 10 seconds. You still count slow. Jonah said, he doesn't need to count. The man's hand moved to his belt. Then the baby woke up. Not a whimper, a cry. Loud, sharp, deep, like air tore open. All 3 men froze. Jonah stepped onto the porch. He's louder than you. The third man stepped back. What the hell's wrong with him? Nothing, Elias said. He remembers. Remember what? What you did to his mother. The baby cried louder. The wind shifted. The man on the left raised his gun. Elias shot first. The left man dropped, fast, screamed once, then went still. Jonah ducked inside. The second man rushed to the porch. Jonah kicked the door into him. A gun flew from his hand. The baby is still crying. Elias chambered another shell. The third man grabbed Jonah from behind. Elias fired again. Hit the post. Jonah elbowed the man off, dropped down. Rolled. Gun went off wild. The baby's cry didn't stop. It got louder. Elias rushed forward, tackled the third man to the ground, fist to jaw. Again. The second man scrambled toward his weapon. Jonah reached it first, pointed, fired once, hit him in the leg. The man screamed. Elias stood over the last one, blood on his shirt, breathing hard. You done? Elias asked. The man looked up, spat blood. You don't win, he said. You delay. Elias said, then I'll delay every day. Jonah held the baby. He'd gone quiet now, just blinking, watching. The man groaned, crawling toward the truck. Elias let him. Jonah stepped over the body at the porch. He okay? Elias nodded. Didn't blink once. Jonah smiled. Take after her. Elias whispered, no. He takes after him. Jonah rocked the baby gently. He screamed when it mattered. Elias looked at the ground. He saved us. Jonah said, he stays with me. Elias looked up. No. Jonah didn't flinch. Elias walked over, laid a hand on the baby's head. He stays with me. Jonah looked at him long. You sure? He asked. Elias nodded. I'm done hiding. The baby blinked. Elias whispered, he'll cry again. Jonah said, good. They stood on the porch. The truck reversed out, dragging one bleeding body. The other stayed still in the yard. The baby looked up at the stars. Then I cried again. The house was quiet again. Blood cleaned off the porch. Shells gone. Bodies gone. Just dirt and silence and a few cracked boards. Elias sat at the table, hands still trembling. Jonah leaned against the sink, baby asleep across his shoulder. Neither had spoken in an hour. Elias finally broke the still. Does she scream like that often? Jonah shook his head. Only when something's wrong. He knew. Yeah. Elias looked at the window. That cry pulled something out of me I didn't know was still there. Jonah said, that's why she kept him. Elias nodded. He's got more power than I ever did. Jonah stepped forward. She told me something. Right before. Elias looked up. She said you ruined her life. And she said you saved it too.
Elias swallowed. She said that? She said the boy she loved let her die, but the man he became gave her a reason to live just long enough. Elias's voice broke. I don't deserve that.
She knew you didn't. Elias laughed once, bitter. That sounds like her. Jonah sat across from him. She said your silence made her crazy, but it also made her strong. She was already strong. She hated herself some nights. Blame you. Blamed herself more. I blamed her too. Jonah nodded. She expected you to. She thought I was a coward. She thought you were scared. That's different. Elias looked at the baby. What else does she say? She said you wore grief like it was your job. Elias smiled faintly. Still do. She said you never fought for her, but you never stopped thinking about her either. I didn't. She knew. Elias stared at the baby. I thought about writing to her. She would have ripped it up. I know. But she still would have read it first. Elias looked away. Does she ever regret keeping you? No. Not even a little? She said she thought about leaving me by the well once. Elias stiffened. But she didn't. Why? She heard a voice say, not this one. Elias's eyes watered. Jonah said she believed that voice came from the ground. Said maybe it was the others talking. She was always closer to the dead than the living. She said she'd rather sleep beside ghosts than beside men who lied. Elias whispered, she said that to you? She said it to the baby, right before she passed. Elias leaned back in the chair, closed his eyes. I see her when I sleep. Jonah said, that's her way of checking if you're still breathing. Elias wiped his eyes. Jonah stood, rocking the baby slowly. Have you ever held her after? No. You should have. I didn't deserve it. She would have let you anyway. Elias whispered, that's what scares me. Jonah sat down again. She said forgiveness ain't soft. It's the sharpest thing a woman can carry. Elias said, then she died with a blade in both hands. Jonah nodded. She didn't want revenge. She wanted to be remembered right. She will be, Jonah whispered, because of him. Elias looked at the baby. He's gonna know everything. He already knows too much. He'll carry it better than we did. Jonah smiled. He'll scream louder. Elias whispered, good. Jonah said, she said one more thing. Elias met his eyes. She said when the time came, I'd know where to leave him. Elias blinked. You think this is that time? I think this house remembers her voice. Elias didn't answer. Jonah stood, lifted the baby. I walked around the table, laid him gently in Elias's arms. He's heavier now, Jonah said. Elias held him, rocked slow. He knows you, Jonah added. I don't know myself. He doesn't care. Elias broke then, quiet at first, shoulders shaking, chin down, no sound, just water and breath. Jonah watched, didn't speak. Elias looked up, voice raw. I'm sorry. She forgave you. I can't. Then keep holding him. Elias nodded, and he did. The governor's car didn't need to announce itself. The road did it for him. Long hum. Thick tires. Black paint already coated in dust before it rolled to a stop. Elias stood at the porch rail. Jonah beside him. The baby cradled between them. You ready? Jonah asked. No. Good. The door opened slowly. The governor stepped out in silence. Same face as before, just older, lines deeper, skin tight across his jaw. He didn't glance at the house, just looked straight at Elias. Mind if I come up? You came all this way, Elias said. Might as well. The governor walked calmly, not rushed, shoes polished, badge pinned clean to his chest like it never saw rain or dirt. Elias watched it shimmer. You always had a way of making messes feel formal, Elias said. The governor smiled. You always had a way of mistaking weakness for principle. Jonah spoke up. You know why we're here. I do. Then don't pretend. The governor nodded once. He's mine. No, Jonah said. He's hers. The governor's jaw worked tight. You think I didn't pay for what happened? You didn't even bury her, Elias said. She didn't want me to. You didn't ask. I knew better. Jonah stepped down one stair. You're not here for justice. No, the governor said. I'm here for control. Then you picked the wrong house. The governor turned to Elias. You want him to grow up cursed? He already did. You think you're better than me now? I'm nothing like you. The governor's voice dropped. You're more like me than you know. I know what I am. Do you? I'm the reason she died, Elias said. But I'm not letting you take what's left. The governor's smile faded. That child has my blood. That child has her name. You can't protect him. I can try. The governor stepped closer. You carry guilt like a flag. You carry the badge, Elias said. But you'll never carry him. Jonah passed the baby to Elias. Say it again. Elias stared at the governor. You'll never carry him. The baby shifted, eyes open, watching the man who never claimed him. The governor looked down. He doesn't know who I am. Good, Jonah said. Let's keep it that way. The governor glanced at the porch, the field, the ashes beyond. You think this house will survive another storm? It doesn't need to be, Elias said. We already did. The governor shook his head. You think this ends clean? I think it ends. You're making a mistake. No, Elias said. That happened years ago. Jonah stepped back. You came to collect. You failed. The governor adjusted his coat. You're both fools. Better than being cowards, Elias said. The governor stared at him, cold, silent, then turned. I walked back to the car. Didn't look back, didn't speak, just left. Tires kicked up dust. Gone. Jonah whispered, That's what fear looks like when it runs out of words. Elias looked down at the baby. He didn't even try. Jonah said, He knew he'd already lost. Elias stepped inside the house, rocked the baby once, twice, whispered, She was right. Jonah said, About what? He's the reason. Jonah nodded. The reason what? The reason I was born again. The wood creaked the same as it did that first night. Elias sat in the same chair, same porch, same air, but nothing was the same. The baby rested in his arms, heavier now, eyes open, watching the sky without blinking. Jonah stood at the bottom step, coat on, bag slung over his shoulder. Are you sure about this? Elias asked. Jonah nodded. It's time. Elias looked down at the baby. He's not ready. No one ever is. Elias rocked gently. He slept through the night. He trusts you. He'll cry when you're gone. He'll cry anyway. Elias looked at Jonah. Are you really walking out of here? I left once already. This time it's different. You don't want to stay. Jonah shook his head. He's got you now. Elias swallowed. You gonna write? Jonah smiled. Number you know where to find me if it matters. Elias stood slowly, baby snug against his chest. I walked down the steps, stood face to face. Jonah said, You still carry guilt. Every morning. Then carry him with it. Elias handed the baby over for a second. Jonah kissed his forehead. He's not just hers, Jonah said. He's yours. Elias nodded. Jonah handed him back. You hear that sound? What? Crickets, wind, screen tapping the post. Yeah, that's silence broken. That's her, letting go. Elias looked toward the tree line. You see her? Everywhere. Jonah stepped back. Elias said, You walk away now. Don't disappear. I won't. Promise. I promise. Elias turned, walked back to the chair, sat with the baby. Jonah paused, watched a moment longer, then walked down the dirt path, one slow step at a time. No goodbye. No need. The baby shifted. Elias whispered, Your mama was right. The baby blinked. You are the reason. He said it again, this time louder. The baby made no sound. Then, one sharp cry. Clean? Bright. A sound that cut through old wood, past trees, across graves. A sound that reached every name never spoken. The sound of a new beginning.